This will be delivered by Dr. Atma Ram Shukla. He is the advisor bioenergy, MNRE, Government of India. So he will be discussing mostly covering the topics on various uses of different forms of biogas. Then biogas as an alternate energy source, its advantages and limitations. Biogas purification for commercial application of biogas in power generation. Then biogas-based power generation programs in SAARC member states. And also, most importantly, he will be discussing about the tariff structure, electricity structure of the biogas plants versus other technologies and fuels. So I just want to, before I hand over the session formally to Dr. Atmaram Shukla, sir, are you with us right now?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, wonderful. So I want to have a brief intro about Dr. Atmaram Shukla. He is superannuated as an advisor bioenergy in the pay scale of Joint Secretary from the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. After working for about 29 years, in all he has about 42 years of experience in policy planning and developing R&D projects on renewable energies at national level, and also devising dissemination programs along with its implementation, development of standards, and involvement in countrywide monitoring focused at reaching the last mile in the biogas sector. So I would like to, sir, I would like to hand over the session to you, please. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. All these participants from the SAARC countries. It's a wonderful afternoon for all of us to have a biogas discussions, which is very relevant. I believe, Mohit, you are there?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Are you going to share the presentation?
Yes, sure. Hello. I believe it is in presentation mode.
It is, yeah, once you do it once again in the presentation mode, then check it. You check at your end whether it is in the full screen mode in the conference room, the meeting room for other participants.
Sir, may I request you to, if you can speak a bit louder, because I don't know, there's a lot of distortion. Edwin, can you check that if there are any other mics open?
I have not started as yet. Shall I start now?
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. So this afternoon, what we are going to talk about is the multifarious uses of biogas and its opportunities with respect to power generation in SAARC countries. It's a very, very appropriate subject because all the countries we are using electricity in decentralized manner, and most of the countries the electricity supply in the rural area is erratic. Either it is not available in some areas, even if it is available, then it is not available for the right kind of voltage and for all the 24 hours of requirement of electricity. So therefore, electricity is very relevant, and if we can generate in a decentralized manner using biogas, then certainly it is going to become a very good opportunity. So the issue will again remain that if we want to generate electricity, then what should be the size, what should be the capacity, and what should be the applications. Next one, Mohit. So we are going to discuss in my presentation briefly about biogas, its institutional framework, technologies, challenges, key commercial drivers, case studies, and a small short conclusion. What we can learn out of it is the why we should go for biogas and why we should go from biogas to bio-CNG. What are the technical possibilities, challenges, and learnings from case studies. That is what is the whole presentation this afternoon, what I'm going to share with you. Next one, Mohit. So biogas utilization, since the session is already there for a few days now. So we all know that biogas, once it is
Sound
produced.
is a problem. Yeah. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. May I request admin to turn off all other mics, please?
Okay, so once we have a biogas plant and generate the biogas, then we have got different options of its utilization. We can use it for thermal application without any processing, any purification, and there is no difficulty in that. And initially, when the biogas was technology was brought forth for application, were different applications in rural areas specifically, then they did nothing. They generate it, and after generation, it was sent through a small pipe to the kitchen area, and the heat was generated, cooking was done. This was the trend for quite long time in India. If I talk from Indian perspective, then in 1981, the program was launched for the utilization of biogas for family size biogas plant applications in rural areas. And we had that for several years, and after that, addition was made for having a community size biogas plant, say 85 cubic meter of biogas generation per day or 150 cubic meter of biogas generation per day, and a small power generation was attempted from there. So decentralized installation of biogas plants was done, and after that, what we did is that the biogas generation, once it is done for a small applications, including for power generation in a decentralized manner, then it was really not able to harness its total potential, what it is capable of. So in 2007, 2008, we thought to process it and purify it so that it becomes a CNG or bio-CNG, similar to calorific value of CNG, similar to calorific value of petrol, etc. And then it can do any kind of applications and jobs what is expected to be done from any petroleum fuel, be it bio-CNG, be it petrol, be it diesel. So that was the third thing which we have added in that. And once we have done the purification, then the next thing comes the pipe distribution or the pipe gas we can provide to grid networks. And we can also have the transport applications. We can fill the cylinders, mount the cylinders in the vehicles, and we can have the transportation possible by this, just like what happens in the CNG. Electricity, we have been trying for different sizes, different applications, and there are issues whether to do, what extent it should be done. All that are the issues which we'll be discussing during the presentation. Next one, Mohit. Now this gives the picture of what we have done in electricity in India, the installations based on the coal power generation and based on the biomass, based on the gas, based on the large hydro, small hydro, and solar. The nuclear and diesel. Now these are the kind of electricity generation which we are having in India, and more or less we are able to meet our requirements, except some disruptions in rural areas, which is being handled from different ways, including having the solar electricity in a decentralized manner. Next one, Mohit. Now, institutional frameworks, if we look at in different countries, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Bhutan, You are having your own ministries or departments in the government. We are handling it, and you are having your institutions which are looking after the ministries. What are the regulations and how the public financing is being done in your respective countries. Next one, Mohit. Now, once we have this one, then the problem becomes of the foreign exchange risk. If investment is coming from a country to a different country in our SAARC countries, then that risk is there, and that risk is to be covered by the policies of the government. If that is done, then the investments are going to come. If that is not done, then there will be a problem of getting investments. Once the investment has come, then we have to repay it if it is coming in the form of debt or loan, and that remains the issue which we have to tackle it. Now, the quality, whatever we are getting, of course, the quality of generation will also be affected. If the quality is not proper, then the investments which are going to come, they will also not be very attractive, and they may not be coming forth at all. So these are the other issues as the institutional framework is concerned. In different countries, we are facing it, and we are facing it every day whenever these projects are coming. And if some projects are coming, then there will be some interest of the investor who is coming there. If the interest is not there, then he may not be coming at all. So as a country, we have to see that the policies are such that it becomes attractive. And also, on the other hand, as a country, we are not getting exploited by the investors who are investing in the biogas and biogas generation plants, including the electricity generation. The next one, Mohit. So ultimately, the biogas electricity generation will be possible only when the biogas is generated. And if biogas is generated, it means we have to have the waste available for generation of biogas or feeding to the biogas plants. This is very basic. What happens then once we plan, or any organization who is doing the study, they don't take this aspect of the biogas generation, that it is like a coal power plant. If you have a biogas plant, then it is to be fed every day, sometimes twice a day, and some of the technologies they recommend, all right, why not, just like humans, why not to feed it twice a day, or at least once a day you have to feed it. So therefore, once you have to feed it, then the waste availability, number one, the quality of the waste, number two, and the processing of the waste, number three, it becomes very important. And this is missed. And if you are going to have a plant life of 20-25 years, then if it is bigger plant, a large size plant, or even a medium sized plant, then the waste availability for that many years is required to be ensured. And since the biogas waste generation is highly decentralized, either farmer is doing, or the municipality is doing, or the agro-food processing industries are doing, or any other distillery is doing, sugar mills are doing, then since everybody and different agencies are generating these wastes, therefore the availability will always be a question mark unless it is properly tied up. So what are the mechanisms which we should employ so that it becomes available for the entire life of the plant? And if you are going to go for the agricultural residue, because unless you do that, then the problem of the pollution which is there in different countries, that is going to be there, and you cannot take care of that unless the agricultural waste which is generated, it is collected right away soon after they are generated. That is the crux of the matter, because the availability of the biomass waste or agricultural waste is seasonal. And if you take the rice straw, then after the 15 days or 20 days, it has to be again, the field is to be made free for next cultivation, or for the next crop cultivation, and therefore it is to be removed in a very short period of time. Once it is removed, then it is to be dried, it should be bundled, it should be transported, it has to be stored, and then it has to feed the biogas plant for 6 months or 5 months or whatever period we have designed it for. So therefore, there are issues of what people understand that everything is very, very simple. My experience with the biogas sector, I have been dealing with it in the government for several years. And once I headed the biogas program, I saw it in very, very close manner. It is one of the toughest programs of any government anywhere in the country, in the countries. Because had it been solar or had it been wind, it becomes very easy. Because the sun is shining and wind is blowing. What you have to put, you have to really put a machine to harness that. And depending on the season, depending on the day of the time, this availability will be varying, but it will be available free of cost. Within inverted commas, free of cost. Nothing is to be invested except we have to collect it. So therefore, if it comes to the biogas plant, then the waste is to be not only collected, it is to be processed, and it is not free. And once the humans are there, human beings are involved, societies are involved, individual farmers are involved, then the societal aspect, the social aspect becomes very, very important. So what kind of arrangement is made such that the availability of biomass for the plant is available? Different models have been tried, different methods have been tried, and mixed experience are there. But all those who are interested in going for a commercial or bigger size of electricity generation for biogas, they have to see that a proper arrangement for the biomass supply is made. It is very important. What mechanism you are going to have, it could be a cooperative societal method, it could be commercial cooperative, I generally call it commercial cooperative method, where the cooperative is there, but it is also running on the commercial terms, because they are going to supply the waste and they are going to get the share the outputs. And commercial cooperative, one thing can also be added, that let there be a barter system, because once you have generated the fertilizer, organic fertilizer out of it, then it is either to be sold or and the farmers who have provided you, they are also requiring the organic fertilizer. As a matter of fact, it should go back to the farmers who are giving the waste, and therefore once it is going back to them, then the barter system, you monetize it, but ultimately you are taking biomass waste on one hand, you are giving the organic fertilizer on the other hand. It could be in the only book adjustment terms, and what you are going to get additionally, or you are going to share in monetary terms, is the money part of it earned out of the biogas produced. Either for electricity generation or for purification and bottling and putting in the cylinders and producing CNG. Whatever is the, after subtracting the running of the plant, after subtracting the operation of the plant, after paying for the interest on the loan, after paying for the capital which has been taken on debt, all that after the deductions, we have to share it with the cooperative partners and members. So some of these issues are just flagging, because all other things you can get from different sources, or even in the internet. That is, you can generate electricity, you can install a electricity generator, source A, source B. So many electricity generator supplying companies are in India, Kirloskar, Mahindra, many others, and similarly globally also Germany and other countries. These generators are available. China, the generators are available. But these issues which are very important for running a plant, once you are not the sole owner of the biomass waste. If you are a sole owner of the biomass waste, for example, if a sugar industry or agro-food processing industry is going to put up its own bio-CNG or biogas-based electricity generation plants, then there is no problem. But the moment you are diverting and diversifying yourself, going to get it from different sources, then you are in a problem, and that problem is to be tackled properly. Next one, Mohit. This is a history of biogas development and utilization in India. We have done a very long journey. We started from Mumbai as early as 1859. And then we went to 1897 again in Mumbai. So those were the years when the people who knew the technology, they installed it, they ran the plant for having the heat application, cooking application, and also for the lighting application at that point of time. And then came the modern Akshat, I'm in a meeting. So, so then came our modern plants, the family size biogas plant, which Dr. Sharma was just before my presentation, he was giving the various aspects of it. So 1946 we did, and then 1952 we did when the KVIC came in the picture. And then after that, as I mentioned, that 1981 the biogas project, National Biogas project for family size applications, and came the 1977 when the Janta model came, 1962 the KVIC model came, and finally the 2007-2008. Then came the bio-CNG application, which I remember that when I started, I got the program in 2007. Then it was only a family size biogas plant. Some electricity generators here and there were there, but it was never a bio-CNG or the making the compressed biogas from the biogas in India was not there. And I was remembering the days that this family size biogas plant, 2 days meetings and discussions with different 25-30 states of the country will be there on biogas. They will eat away all the time on biogas, and some people having a cap on his head and some people having a bag on his shoulder, they will come and talk and go away. So what occurred to me that unless this biogas is purified, and after purification the automotive application type of biogas is produced, it is not going to get a real business, and it has to have competition. It should be able to compete with the petroleum petroleum fuels, be it diesel or petrol or the CNG. That was the thought which occurred to me in the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy when I was handling the program, and that made me bringing all the knowledge available in India together and launching a demonstration program, demonstration of integrated technology package on biogas purification and bottling. So that was the turning point for this sector in India. And then I thought that if I want to make it a commercial fuel, then it must have a standard. And unless a standard is there, nobody is going to listen us. And then for that, I put up a small specification, and that I sent it to BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard. They considered it. I participated in the committee, and finally 2013 the first bio-CNG BIS standard was brought. And once the BIS standard was brought, then it was considered the automotive application. We have to have certain modifications. So we did those modifications in 2016. The standard which came, now it facilitates whether you want to use it for thermal application, or you want to put it in the piped network of the gas, or you want to put it for automotive application, or you want to use it for power generation. This composition of biomethane or biogas through this standard is suitable, and that became the basis. The 2018, then the SATAT program, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. I wrote to them in 2016. As early as that, I told them that ask your public sector companies to set up 10 plants, bio-CNG plants each. That was my request to them after the standard has come. And ultimately, they did two things. One, they brought out the biofuel policy 2018 in 2018 in India, and MOPNG, Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, also brought the sustainable alternative towards affordable transportation, the SATAT scheme, through which the market platform has been provided. The compressed biogas or the bio-CNG, the platform. Why I'm telling these things in detail, that the participants from different countries, if you want to take it to a logical end, if you really want that the biogas is not only generated, it is also utilized for different applications, you have to follow these journeys, you have to follow these routes, and then only you will be able to do the justice to this sector. So in 2018, that program has come. It is in operation. Of course, we from Indian Biogas Association keep on giving suggestions how it can be further modified so that it becomes very, very suitable for the promoters, the private sector players, to go in a large scale, in large number in this sector. Mohit, next one. So biogas gensets, small scale, medium scale, and the large scale. Generally, all the three scale biogas generators are available. Up to 5 kilowatt or from 5 kilowatt onwards, if you want to have in the small scale category, these are available. Some of the companies in India, Kirloskar and others, they are making and supplying. And medium size is also available. Prakash Diesels, Kirloskars, and Mahindra, all of them are there from India. And there are international players, especially in the large scale. China, of course, in the medium and small scale, they are there. Large scale, Germany, Netherlands, and other countries are there. So they are having the biogas gensets. Now, biogas gensets again. I always feel very, very strong about it for our SAARC countries, because we are developing countries, and we are not having our economies, which is giant economies, and therefore the small size biogas plants that Dr. Sharma has been giving in his presentation. I was hearing him for 5-7 minutes at the end. Now, you have the small size biogas plant. Why small size biogas plants? Because individual families they can install it, or even small institutions can install it. Once you have installed it, then the biogas availability, if it is a 2 cubic meter plant, then roughly the 2 cubic meter of plant per day, half of that you can use it for cooking applications, 1 cubic meter, another 1 cubic meter is left with you. Now that 1 cubic meter can give you some electricity, which you can use it for lighting your kitchen area and your drying room. But for that, you have to have the small capacity generators. Whatever we had earlier was that it was a mental kind of arrangement where biogas is directly lit into that, and there are problems of mental kind of system for lighting. It is not very, very convenient. It is always better that we go for a small capacity generators. And when I gave R&D projects to Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in India, I told them that I am interested in going for half a kilowatt capacity biogas generator to the large capacity biogas generator, say to begin with 100 kilowatt or so. Now, if we do that, then becomes a problem. I do not know. Despite my pushing hard till I was in the government, and also whenever I talk on this subject, I encourage people to go for it. They should go for a small capacity generator, just like a small pump sets and diesel sets. What nobody is doing anything. Wherever water pumping is required for irrigation, people go and buy these off the shelf from any market, even the rural areas, and they bring it and hook it, put it the diesel, and it starts operating. So, for my own way of thinking, for our developing countries, to me it appears that anything 1 kilowatt to 5 kilowatt generator sets running on biogas. And once you are putting a genset, then you must have also provide a small purification unit where the H2S for the decentralized applications, highly decentralized applications, only the H2S removal and H2S removal is not very difficult. A small system can be provided with do's and don'ts, how to replace the material inside, that you can always do it. So these are the ways that it is a complete package. You should have a small purification unit. You should also have a genset 1 to 5 kilowatt, and then you see the miraculous achievement in the rural area. It is because that once you go for a higher capacity, then as I mentioned, then the waste will give you trouble, and the investment is also going to give you trouble. But if you go for the large size, what some of the countries have done, their manufacturers have done, they say that you only remove the H2S, a small system they are giving, and then you don't do any purification with the CO2 of 35%, 30% or 40%, whatever CO2 availability is there in the biogas composition, raw biogas composition, you can run your concept. So this was marketed for quite some time, and many of the installations are there in different countries. There are difficulties, operational problems and all. But if you see from the promoter point of view, then these generators are costly because they are raw biogas generators, so to say. So these are the generators. Then one thing which has not been mentioned here, of course, I should add it, that you are already having the CNG generators. We don't call them biogas generators, we call them CNG generators. If you have the CNG, and CNG would mean that you have the bio-CNG or the compressed biogas or the purified biogas, then you have to do nothing with the generators. Whatever generator is available in the market, you buy it and start using it. So the option is that whether you go for the electricity generation or we go for the bio-CNG production, choice is there. Once I come to the slide on the pricing, I will be mentioning how it is comparing these two. The next one, Mohit. Okay, now the biogas technologies, Professor Sanjeev Kumar would have certainly brought the presentation for the benefit of all the participants. What are different technologies which are available for different size of biogas plants? I'm just briefly mentioning to keep the whole perspective before us. So domestic biogas digesters, India is having a very good experience. So many 15, 20 numbers of approved models are there of different sizes, different capacities. And then we have the covered lagoon type, very simple. Anywhere you can create where the biomass waste is available. And then the garage are best type. Now garage type, this somehow I am fascinated with this. I have been telling our technology developers that let us do little more work on it, because it is a batch. Once the biomass availability is there in the season, as I mentioned, for the rice straw, put it in the garage and let it be digested, and let it get digested. Once digested, then you start getting the biogas, until the last gram of the biomass is available. It will start giving biogas production. It will increase first, and then there will be peak. After peak, it will be going down. So we can harness it, and after we have harnessed most of the potential of the biogas, then we can take out the compost or the organic fertilizer, and again the garage is available for feeding from the next season crop. Of course, in our countries where wheat is produced, wheat is generally used for the as animal feed, but whatever other material is available, that we can feed into it. So all those who wants to go for technology development, I am really one for it. It's very good. CSTR and plug flow, this is already there in many plants globally in different countries, which has been utilized. And of course, the biomethane upgradation technology. There are different technologies. I'll be coming on that. What are those technologies, and we can do it. So therefore, technology per se is not a problem. Only thing is the cost economics. It attracts many people who talk from outside, who have not done themselves and who have not taken into account all the types of waste and all the types of problems, they give a picture, they paint a picture that it is very, very attractive. Sharma has also said that you can have your payback period in 10 months and all. But really, things are not that simple. If it is that simple, then all of us need not to have training, refresher training, have a government program. Everybody would have done it. Next, Mohit. Yeah, so the purification technologies, we have the absorption, we have the chemical absorption, we have the membrane based separation technology. Now, different technologies, different capacities. Our plants have been installed. Some of them have been installed in India, including for the chemical absorption or the water scrubbing or for the PSA technology, processing absorption technology. All those have been done. Membrane technology also getting done somewhere. So those technologies are available. You can get it from different countries. You can get the plant from anywhere. You can get including from India. You can get it from China. You can get it from Germany and other countries. Those plants are available. Only thing is that if you want a very small size plant, then people say no, don't go for it, because ultimately it won't be cost economical. But we have to have judicious size of the plant, and the main consideration has to be the biomass waste available for the 25 years or life of the biomass plant. So these technologies are available, and we should go for it. And the CO2, which is separated, and the methane which is separated. Methane we are going to put in the cylinder or put in the gas line, and they do whatever we want to do. CO2 is also a very good product output, which needs to be purified to 99 plus 0.9 or at least 99% level, and then it can be used in breweries and so many applications they are there. So the circular economy, what we call, I mean earlier that you put up a sugar industry, and whatever waste you are generating, just you let it go in the river, in the nalas, in the canals everywhere, and it is spreading surrounding the area. The whole area is sticking. Now that situation has gone now. Here now that every input and every output is to be accounted for, and no output is a waste. That is the law of the nature. Anything produced in the nature, nothing is waste. So once it has been generated, we have to gainfully utilize. So therefore, anybody who is going to go for the biomethane production through purification and bottling or for pipe network, he has to see that the CO2 generated is also bottled and also is put for different applications, including for welding, etc. Next one, Mohit. Okay, now coming to the challenges. Some of the challenges, I started with some challenge in the very beginning of my presentation. So challenges are there, and anybody who says that the challenges are not there, probably he is first of all fooling himself or herself. Challenges are there. I was hearing a presentation by one of the companies of India who has done a very old timer in the biogas sector. They were also giving some cost economics, and they were saying that in 7 years, in 6 years, sometimes 4 years, some 3.5 years, the payback period is there. But ultimately, somebody is paying for it. If that you are getting any grant, if you are getting any soft financing, it is okay. If you are having your waste, in any case, you have to get your waste processed, and if you don't process, you are going to penalize. But the pollution control board, then it's a different story. But if you are going to do on a commercial scale, then it is a challenge. So therefore, first is the market. So market challenge is there, and so many things you are even the social stigma is mentioned here. So not at my in my backyard. So here we have seen in Delhi itself that the biomass waste plant was put up some 15-20 kilometers away, when Nobody was generally going to across the Jamuna River to UP side. Only some people will go. Only one bridge was there, or two bridges were there. Then they put up a landfill. And after some time, when more bridges were made, more infrastructure was made, now the city has gone beyond that landfill site. Now there is a problem. Similarly, in Okhla, near Delhi, it's the heart of the town now. Here the waste facility was available. Now when the waste treatment plant or the biogas power, burning the municipal waste and putting the power, electricity or the heat out of it, when the plant was put up by Jindals, then the problem came. People saying, why you are doing here? So therefore, not these are the social problems, and I briefly mentioned in the beginning. And then mitigation strategies you have to have NGOs, you have to have fertilizer control order, so many things you are there, and then you have to have the gas purchase agreements and the LOIs issued by the oil marketing companies in India for putting up the plant in Satat. So there again they say that you are going to do it on our terms. It has to be highly purified. You have to put your cylinders, cascade, park it our dispensing network till that is over. You cannot put another. Those are the problems. And of course, over and above, the price which they are paying, whether that is attractive for this one or not. So then next comes the operations and the operation part of it, and finance part of it, and the regulation part of it. So all these are very important if you are going for a large scale plant or a commercial scale plant. The operational problems are there because you have to run it. You have to have the manpower which is going to run it, which is a trained manpower. You have to have the operational cost availability, you have to, biomass waste availability, and the finances are very important. Nobody is ready to finance. The banks are not ready to finance. The financial institutions are not ready to finance because they see there are more risk into it, and therefore the policy instruments which in India they are coming and improving by and by. Now State Bank of India has already come forward for providing finances for the projects under SAPAR. So those are the difficulties which we have to encounter, and these are the challenges. Comes to regulations. The PESO and Pollution Control Board, and then the fertilizer control order, and the other one is the CLU, change of land use. I don't know in other SAARC countries how you are handling it. If you have the agricultural land, you cannot set up industry unless you have got your use of land changed through a governmental mechanism, whatever system or rules are there. So these are the regulatory issues, and getting the PESO in India, Petroleum Exploration and Safety Organization, that is going to provide you the clearances for setting up the biogas cleaning plant or the bio-CNG plant. So these are the issues which we have to keep into mind, and what are the solutions for that. Some of them I have attempted to mention here, which you can go through after some time when you have time for that. Next one, Mohit. So this was the standard which I talked of. So after modification, the BIS standard for the biomethane looks like this, where you have to have at least 90% of the methane. You have to have 20%, 20 ppm or milligram per meter cube as the H2S, and similarly CO2 and 2O2 maximum 10%. It is all maximum. You can always go for a technology depending on your application. You can go for 94 to 95% very easily. If you want to go for higher percentage of methane, 98% or 97%, then certainly the cost of purification becomes higher. then you should get a higher price for that. So these are the some of the water percentage in that and the oxygen percentage in that. So these are the factors which are required composition. And once you are going to set up a purification plant, then you have to see, you have to have either the concurrent monitoring or you can have the periodical monitoring where these parameters are checked and the report is generated. And if you are going to sell it to piped network, then they will be asking for a chart from you. And similarly, the oil marketing company, they may have the periodical checking also for the composition. Because if you are going to produce inferior quality of the biomethane, inferior to what this specification provides for, then either it is going to have the problem in the pipe network if you are putting. If you are putting in the cylinders will go bad, they may burst after some time. So therefore, you cannot afford to have the compromise in the quality of biomethane or biogas production. Next one, Mohit. So this is our the latest entry. I think this transparency provides of the what we call in India the fertilizer control order. Any fertilizer which is sold in India, including chemical fertilizer, they are governed by the fertilizer control order. Now, fertilizer control order till few months back, couple of months back, it was not available for the liquid fertilizer. The liquid fertilizer coming out of the biogas plant or the bio-CNG plant, and the solid part of it, the organic fertilizer in solid form, for those it has come a little earlier. First the solid specification, solid organic fertilizer specification has come, then the liquid organic fertilizer specification has come. Now with this, if a commercial plant is set up where electricity is generated or the purification is done through having the biomethane production, electricity is generated, no problem. You can measure in units. If unit is generated, you need not to bother about what type of plant, what size of plant, how much gas it is producing. How electricity you produce, that is metered, be done with it. But if you are doing with the bio-CNG, then it is to be the metered bio-CNG are weighed in kg bio-CNG is also to be seen with the specification, the composition of that. Now, if you have done these two, then you are going to get your price for making a good business where the gas part is concerned. Now, if you are coming for the fertilizer part of it, then again, if you want to sell it, if you want to get a good market out of it in different organizations, government organizations and others, if the companies, fertilizer companies are going to recommend for it, if you are going to market it like chemical fertilizer, then it has to have certain standards. And these standards of organic fertilizer in liquid form as well as solid form are going to provide it going to become a very important tool in the hand of promoters or the producers of biogas plant biogas and also the organic fertilizer. Next one, Mohit. Now, stakeholders, all of us know the policy makers. In Indian scenario, if we talk, we have the federal structure, central government, state government, operational level, the municipalities, and why municipalities? Then we should go for the industries also, and those industries are also the organizations who have their own role to play. And once you go for the economy, then the farmers, because they are the input providers, the companies who are going to install it, the associations, and the standard bodies like Bureau of Indian Standards or the Ministry of Agriculture for Fertilizer Control Order. So therefore, in the policy side, after municipal bodies, we should also have the industrial bodies also in that. Then academia, as I mentioned, I hinted few things which we can do as a research part of it. because the technology development is a continuous process where academic institutions and research institutions have to continuously put their might so that the plants are more efficient, the plants are having better life, and the plants are can be installed at a lower cost or a cheaper cost. And then the training institutes, the training universities for having the courses, masters and BTech and whatnot, and then also having the refresher training. So these are the academia, they have to play their role. And the finance, the banks, the minimum support price or the subsidy. This one is very important. What I have been now arguing and advocating with the government is that don't give subsidy, give generation based incentive. If the gas is generated, give your incentive. If it is not generated, don't give your incentive. Because once you give subsidy, then the plant is installed. That is our experience in India. Plant is installed, but it will not be operated because the operational difficulties are more than what the difficulties were there in the installation. And therefore, if you give subsidy, he has taken the subsidy, he has consumed it, he has installed the plant, and after that he may not run it. So therefore, as it happened in solar energy, they were giving the generation-based incentive. In wind energy, they have started giving the generation-based incentive. But in this sector, the generation-based incentive are not coming. It is because that there are many promoters, many technology providers, many consultants. They will say there is no need. There is no need for any support from the government. It is self-sustainable. And none of them have installed any plant themselves. They only profess and argue and advocate. So therefore, to my view, it should be generation-based incentives so that whatever difficulties are there, they are perceived and everything is taken into account and the plant is run for the entire life of the plant for 20-25 years. Now funds have to be low cost. Now Indian Oil Corporation, when they were doing Satat scheme, I have been in discussions with them. They said, no sir, we will bring the low cost financing for that. How much low it should be? It should be 4% or less than that. Now the international organizations who are supporting for it, who are going to fund it or provide it, that if they can provide less than 4% of funds for that, maybe that it is a good scenario, it can be done. And other innovative instruments which are required for finance that can be utilized. One thing and which can be done is that all those who say that it can happen, let them install the plant and they only sell the electricity, they only see the bio-CNG, they only sell the organic fertilizer and see how good it is. So that is the finance part of it. Then society, the non-governmental organization, the public and social entities, they are there when over and above the raw material provider, the biomass-based provider. Be it a farmer, or be it a municipality, or be it industrial, small industries who are having their waste, biomass waste, all of them are very important. And since you have to get and collect waste from different organizations, the social aspects are very, very important. And over and above, we are going to handle the dirty material. It's not a white collar job. It's a dirty material. It's not solar energy and wind energy. And all the foreign countries, all the foreign companies are very much interested in solar. Everybody is interested in solar and wind. In India also, everybody is very, very happy with that. Kuch karna hi nahi isme. You have to do nothing in that. Sun and wind is coming free, and clean, clear things you are going to install it, looking very lovely and beautiful. Remove some dust, your job is done. But here you have to handle the raw material which smells, which stinks. You become you may become ill. You have the health problems if you are going to there if you are not going to proper care. And therefore, this aspect of it is to be paid by the government. It has to be paid by the society. And that is how it becomes, these stakeholders are very, very important. Technology, many information, knowledge you will get from different sources. But the plain talking of the realities is very, very difficult. People don't talk about it. They say everything is green picture is painted. Next one, Mohit. Yeah, coming to tariff. Now, here we have the tariff structure. It was 2015-16, and we have here the different renewable energy technologies: the solar photovoltaic, the solar thermal, the wind, and of course the biogas. So these are the different rates which have been were decided in 2015-16. For biogas, it has been decided in 2020-21 also. So here, if we see the applicable cost is 7.86 rupees, Indian rupees here per unit of electricity generated. Now, if you go for per unit of electricity generated, then you get this amount. And I hope that you have been given the input in the presentations before me, that how many units of electricity can be generated from 1 cubic meter of raw biogas. So if it is 1 cubic meter of biogas, depending on the different types of generators, efficient generators, costly generators, somebody may say you can get 1.5, 1.5 units kilowatt hours, or 2 kilowatt hours. Somebody may also claim 2.5 kilowatt hours per cubic meter of raw biogas. So, but it's a gray area, where depending on the composition of the gas, depending on what technology for power generation you are going to use, this per unit electricity is going to, I mean, per cubic meter per unit of electricity generation is going to vary a lot. And therefore, any figure you can assume, even if you assume 7.86 rupees per unit, and you have two units per cubic meter of biogas generated, then you are going to have roughly 16 rupees, because it 2020-21 that figure has come to 8.16 rupees, 8.16. So that would mean that if 2 units of electricity is generated per cubic meter of raw biogas, then you are going to have 16.32 rupees. 16.32 rupees you are going to have the price of electricity for the electricity which you have generated from biogas. Now, you back calculate all your investments for the large size biogas generator, the cost of the biogas plant, the operation cost of the biogas plant, manpower, etc., etc., the rent of the premises, the debt, the then installments, etc. You can calculate everything, and then you see that the 16 rupees 16.32 per cubic meter of biogas, how much you are going to get out of it. So similarly, if you go for the bio-CNG produced, then how much you are going to get out of it. Next one. So this one is again 15-16. 15-16, it is having the different types of biomass waste, and they are having the power generation, variable cost, applicable tariff, and benefit of acceleration. So these are the calculations again. So these are the biomass power projects for which these tariffs have been given. Next one. Okay, so the other slide from where I was saying that the 8.16 is the cost of the electricity per unit of electricity. So per meter cube. So that is what you are going to get. And if you convert it into bio-CNG, then if you have the 2 cubic meter of gas, roughly, not exactly 2 cubic meter of gas, suppose it gives you 1 kg of bio-CNG, and that price of 1 kg of bio-CNG is 46 rupees today in India. And of course, we are arguing for it and fighting for it. It is on lower side, it must be increased. So if you go for the electricity generation and compare, then they will find that the purification route, if you go, then you can in any case generate electricity through using the CNG engines, but you are going to get your better price as compared to the so that becomes a better. So that is
I
it.
think
Actually, I was
someone's
just
mic is open, please.
yeah. So if you go for comparison between whether to go for electricity or we go for the bio-CNG generation, you will find that it becomes better for bio-CNG. Reason being that if you are going to sell your electricity to a utility where they will take the electricity first and pay you later. But if you have the bio-CNG that you can take the money first and then give your bio-CNG, what happens in petrol pumps? And I always tell people that why the petroleum companies are doing good business and electricity companies let me not use any other word, but the electricity companies are always in debt, always in problem, always looking towards the government for providing support to them. Reason being that they are supplying electricity first and getting the money after 1 month if they get it. If they don't get it for various reasons, meter is faulty, it has been stolen somewhere, pilferage has been there, then all those has gone waste. But if somebody is going to fetch petrol in a car, or if somebody is going to fetch bio-CNG or CNG in a car, he has to pay first. And that is how it becomes a better option. That we produce bio-CNG. If you are going to use it for small, as I mentioned in the beginning, power application where individual families are going to run it, where electricity is not there, there is a problem, fine enough. You go for a small generator, 1 kilowatt, 2 kilowatt or so, and then use for your self application. But if you are going for a commercial application, then the bio-CNG becomes a better option. Now, coming to digestate, I have elaborated that we have now the fertilizer control order. Marketing is a problem because farmers are being told every day by the international companies because they have product to sell, and by the our national companies, private or government, they have product to sell. They will always say chemical fertilizer is the best. And for any crop, they will start with so much of dia, so much of nitrogen, so much of urea, so much of this, so much of that. And after you have done that, then they will say ki you have to have the insecticide, you have to have pesticide. For everything, the chemical formulations are there, it is available. They will. But you say that you can use these bio-organic or organic fertilizers, or you are going to have the biogas slurry-based pesticides and insecticides. They say no, we don't know. And the agriculture universities, they don't do much work, and even if they have done some work, they don't properly document it and provide input in the trainings and so therefore that is a problem. And the pocket of the farmer everywhere globally, the pocket of the farmer is not very deep. It is very, very shallow. And everywhere where the markets are surviving, the farmers are surviving, the government is supporting them. So if the organic fertilizer is going to be bought at the actual price, then who is going to buy? Because the farmers are already having a lot of debts in agricultural tools and machines, tractors and harvesters and whatnot, and having the pump sets installation of that, having the improved seeds. Now, a situation is now there in the rural areas everywhere that whatever seed you have purchased, you can only use only in this season for this crop. If you want to have your own seed and sow it in your field next season, it will not go. That is what is being, the technology has been developed, and that was being taught by the agricultural scientists and promoters. So they are saying, no, every time you go and buy the seed. So therefore, the total cost of agriculture operation has become so much. And once the produce is there, since storage proper is not, especially the fruits and vegetables, since the storage facilities are not proper, they are to be sold at whatever price they are getting in the market at that point of time. So the price of the outputs are in somebody else's control, and the price of input is also in somebody else's control. So that is the reason the people who say that no, I am going to sell the organic fertilizer at rupees 10 a kg, I am doing here and there, I have this experience, that experience, probably if they are going to have it for a large scale, then they will face the problem. Here and there, some experiment, some demonstration, it is okay. So these are the things which I have mentioned, the commercial thing, the thermal, the substrate and the bio-CNG, etc., the electricity and the digestion. These are the issues which I have flagged in. And my idea here is to flag only the issues. You are yourself intelligent enough to do it for your own respective countries in a different manner. Next one, right? Now here, you see, in India, so many ministries and departments are involved in the policy making. Everybody has got his own role or their own role to play. Every ministry is the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, there, Chemicals and Fertilizers is there, Urban Development is there, Ministry of Power is there, Ministry of Petroleum, Natural Gas is there, Ministry of Environment, Forest is there, Ministry of Road Transport is there, everybody is there. Rural development is there, drinking water. Everybody is, so many ministries doing policies, and everybody is spending money. It is not that nobody is spending money. They are spending money. But all that money is not integrated, put together and channelized and going to a bio-CNG or a biogas plant. It is distributed, and that is the reason why, while the investment is done by the government, but actual installation base does not increase the way it should. So all of you in different countries, you have to see that there has to be a single, what people call it, single window clearance, or only one ministry is all the policy. Even today I have written letter to government saying that you please, for God's sake, for this sector you have to have one ministry. Different ministries are not working out. Next one, Mohit. Now coming to the case studies, these are some of the case studies of biomethanation plant. This one is in Ludhiana, in Punjab. So this plant has been done. The details of the plant is already available on the screen. Once you have time, you can go through what are the waste types, what are the processing types, so etc., is written. And what we did subsequently in this plant, this is one of the oldest plant of large capacity in India. So what we did, we have also set up a purification unit at this location. Next one, Mohit. Now this is the purification unit. You can see on the right hand side the two Almirah kind of thing is seen. One is the IB, Indian Biogas Association, and the other side is Arca Biotech also. So those are the two organizations who have joined hands with the Punjab Energy Development Agency in modifying or setting up additional equipment and system where the purification of biogas generated at this plant has been done, and they have also done the purification. After purification, the carbon dioxide extraction plant has also been put up in this one. Next one. So in this one, it has been biogas generation, then drying, then desulfurization, and then the biogas upgradation, PSA technology, bio-CNG on one hand you have got, and the CO2 using the cryogenic route. Different routes are there for extraction of CO2. Depending on the application, we can do it. Some industries have also, and developers have also done, they use the chemicals, so it becomes the calcium carbonate after the CO2 is absorbed there, and then they extract it. So different technologies, but CO2 extraction is a feasible proposition, and it must be done, as I mentioned earlier. Next one. No, yeah. So now we come to another plant on press mud. Now press mud is one very good substrate which is available in all the sugar mills. And earlier we were thinking that the press mud is a useless thing. They were either throwing it, giving people to take it away free of cost from the sugar mills because there was no storage space left. So people were taking it, some people were burning it, some people were, because you cannot put in the fields also directly, somewhere making briquettes, mixing something, coal or charcoal something, and then that was being used as a fuel for the eat patta, the brick kilns, etc. So, but now the press mud, we have proved, we have a system, we have a plant where this plant and other plants are there, where the press mud is a very good substrate for production of biogas, and it should be utilized. And this plant has been done here in Vadodara, and it is of course one option of one demonstration of biogas possibility generation from the press mud as well. Next one. So now, of course, about the Indian Biogas Association, lot of time I have already devoted on the presentation. So I'll just run through Mohit one by one. We have headquarters at the Gurgaon near Delhi. Next one, Mohit. Then we have our vision and mission, and a very clear-cut vision and mission. We are working under those guidelines and moving ahead to see that this sector grows. Next one. Mohit, next one. Yeah, and some of us who are behind it. Next one, Mohit. So some of our associates of Indian Biogas Association, we have a good base of membership. Next one. Then another thing which we have done some pamphlets and booklets we keep on providing to our partners, our members. We have also the Biogas app, mobile app. We are continuously keep on improving that. We are providing these services. Next one. With next one. Now this is another thing which we did in this part of the world. We have a biogas lab at Varanasi, Banaras Hindu University, BHU, and we are providing services to different organizations, the promoters, the developers. They can bring their samples and they can test it and get the results and utilize it for their different applications from which they have done it. Next one. Mohit, next one. Good. So I have already talked to you the long history. We have the share of biogas is increasing. Of course, the way it should increase, it is not. That is how we are all are working for that. And there is a government support available of different types. For this year, policy is under formulation, which will be out. So growth rate for different plants is picking up, and we have the diverse applications and wider spectrum of shareholders are there. Next one. Next one. So these are the contacts for the Indian Biogas Association and to me. Next one. And thank you so much. All these participants, I'm very happy that you have had the patient hearing wherever you are participating, and IIT Roorkee, who have organized it, and all the students and faculty who are supporting Professor Sanjeev Kumar. My thanks to each one of them, and Professor Arun Kumar, who has been my close and very oldest friend, because when we were developing the renewable energy, we have been interacting a lot. So Professor Arun Kumar, if you are online, thank you so much. And I remember our good days when we had been interacting for growing the renewable energy in India and of course the global regulation. So thanks to each and every participants of our countries and all those who are hearing from other locations other than the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for Dr. Shukla for this wonderful presentation, and just keep me intact for a longer time. I mean, while I was listening to your presentation, and so now we are open for any sort of a question and answer session. So I would like our friends to kindly raise their hand first, and then we can choose whom to speak. Please, if you have any questions, we take the questions now. So, okay, here we are. We have, sorry, I think we lost him. So please, any questions? So we have Mr. Veera Singh with us. So over to you, Veera, please.
Yes, thank you very much for interesting presentation. I think you have enlightened a lot of areas pertaining to this biogas technology, but still I was not clear exactly with the fertilizer aspects. I think as a technology where you can use the fertilizer from the biogas, whether can we recommend this technology as a technology for fertilizer production other than the electricity production? But there was a question raised once that there is no proper criteria, the standards have been developed. So this area seems to be a little bit weaker. So what is your idea as president of the Biogas Association, how you can tackle this area?
Yeah, Sudhir Singh, thank you very much for putting up this question. In fact, in earlier days, the organic fertilizer coming out of a biogas plant was used as such in the form it was produced. And different experiments have been done by agricultural universities at various points of time. They have used it to the irrigation water. They found the better results. They have dried it and put in the fields. They have got results. They have used it for different crops and they have got the results. Now, after the new era, present era has come, then people are the expectation of the people is that it should do the job as the chemical fertilizers are doing. And that is how, as I gave you in my presentation, the fertilizer control order that need for standard for the organic fertilizer was there, and it has come now. Now, once that is available, then we can, suppose in the either it is the liquid or it is the solid form, we can upgrade our organic fertilizer adding by additives, fortifying it. We can have phosphorus, we can have potassium, depending on the requirement. We can make it for different crops. Only difficulty or only thing which we have to consider that unlike chemical fertilizer that you can produce it and maybe you can use it after 6 months, since it is having the biocontact, therefore the shelf life is also to be determined and written on the bags or on the container where the liquid fertilizer is being supplied. So it is possible. If you are going to do it, then different types of organic fertilizer can be produced as it is being produced for the chemical fertilizers. There is no difficulty. Only thing is, as I mentioned, that if you are going to have the better quality of the organic fertilizer, then you should also get the money which you have invested into it. And that is where the policy makers and the governments have to step in. If they step in, certainly it is possible to do it. And technologically it is feasible, it has been done.
So I would like to give an opportunity to Mr. Ridwanur to ask the question.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla. Excellent presentation. President of Indian Biogas Association. Maybe last 7 or 8 years ago, we meet Vietnam. That is the program. Excellent. I am also the Bangladesh Biogas Development Foundation, this BBDF Executive Committee member. Previous time the treasurer, and now is the our organization Rahman Renewable Energy, where the construction, the commercial biogas, domestic, and etc. This is the my query. Excellent your presentation. Some case study. We construction the commercial biogas in Bangladesh. There is a now is a very potential. Many plant owner very interested, but Bangladesh here is no the CBG, the transport fuel, very potential in Bangladesh. Last time I was visit an international consultant for the Nepal in the poultry waste. This is I also know, and this is the first day I know this is the Pokhara, even India. There is very successful the bio CNG, that is the transport fuel. My question here, this is the case study. This is the good information, but I think the one information that is the investment cost. How many? I know that the feedback the period. This is the return. This plant is the construction. The business owner. This business owner. This is the investment. How time return the my. This is the my query. This is the transport fuel.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, both the outputs are to be considered. The organic fertilizer and also the gas. If we have the outputs put together and added in the same kitty of output, and then we work out the economics, it becomes better. That is to be done, because once you are going to put up the biogas generation and the purification plant, then the costs are going to be higher there. And therefore, what is important is that once we have put up, and if you are not looking for a very, very short gestation period, if you are going to have a very short payback period, then certainly there is a problem. It has to be seen from the long-term perspective, and that is how the national interest and the societal interest is to be brought in. The national interest is not coming there only thing that I'm comparing it to the imported gas with the bio-CNG produced here. Then certainly they will never be able to do that. Even here in India, we are lacking. They say that, it is better, I will import LNG. What is there? Why I should go for it? You are costly by 1 rupee or 2 rupees. So, but then I said that you are going to produce it locally, then you need not to spend all your foreign exchange all times to come. So only in the beginning, but in the beginning, since the costs are higher, and that is why I mentioned about the capital cost. That capital cost, low cost, if somebody is ready to put finances, then in any renewable energy technology, it is not a problem. And only thing is that large investments are required. Like solar mission, I remember in MNRE in ministry where I was, started, they put rupees 15 per kilowatt hour as the price. And today, the lowest price has come to 2.14 kilowatt hour. The latest tender which has been won by one of the Tata subsidiaries in India. Now the price has come down, but then the government, just to see that it's rupees 15 per unit and rupees 2 per unit. So that is kind. So once we have the investments, then the technology will be developed. The cost will be better, lower, and when the cost is lower, then it becomes economical. But anyone who is thinking that without it they are going to have our sustainable development, probably that will not happen. More urbanization, more waste, more dirt, more health problem, more pollution. So that is how the investment is to be seen, and not only the output of the gas and the organic fertilizer, but also the pollution point of view, because we are treating the waste. It's a scavenger. we are doing the scavenging job. All waste generated, we are there to take care of it. And in few hours, we are putting in the system, nothing is seen outside, it is clean. So they should pay for it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope that addresses your question.
Yeah.
So next one, I would like to give an opportunity to Dr. Shanwar Hamid. If you can turn on your mic and speak.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Dr. Shnawar Hamid from Khaja Free University of Engineering and Information Technology. Sir, Dr. Shukla, thank you so much for a very nice and very amazing presentation. I guess you have a lot of experience behind that very nice presentation. So thank you so much. Because I'm working in environmental engineering side, so I was wondering that because biogas production is very good technology, and essentially it's a South Asian has very long history about it. But if you see any new technology, or like you said, any renewable energy technology is not very well accepted, because you initially need to invest something into it. That is why I working technologies, for example, biomass briquetting technology or composting, things like that. So rather than to establish one big biomass unit and producing biogas and using it for fuel or energy or etc., how about what do you think? What if we have smaller units? And for example, if we have biomass, abundant biomass, we can produce briquette, biomass briquettes, or that we can use in brick, processing plants. And then if we have organic organic contents like food industry, and we can use it for compost. And then there are many other things like that. So from your experience, I just want to know that at what stage do you think that we should switch to biogas, and at what stage we should stick to the very small technologies that can pay the farmer at his or her own doorstep. Sir, thank you so much again.
Sanawarji, what is important that the biomass waste is available in different forms. If it is loose and leafy, it is liquid waste, biomass waste, then we have no option but to process it through biogas plant. So I never say that all types of biomass waste should be put up in the biogas plant. One, they cannot be put up, but whatever this technology is better for, that one should not be used for any other application. So anything which is green, which is leafy, which is loose, it should be put up in the biogas plant. And whatever is woody, hard material, that should be put up for other application, including for briquettes and pellets. But not that all the leaf and agro waste is collected and briquettes and pellets are made and ultimately they are burnt. If you are going to burn it, then you are getting energy, all right, but you are losing the organic fertilizer, which is very much required for maintaining soil fertility. If you don't provide organic fertilizer input, then then it is not going to remain fertilized for a long time. So for sustainable productivity of the farmland, we have to have organic fertilizer. So therefore, any solution, whatever we offer, it should not be ditching the organic fertilizer aspect of it. If it is ditching, then we are doing the long-term loss. Even maybe it is for the short-term, immediate term, it is beneficial. And the third one is liquid fuel generation. You can have the liquid fuel generation as well, having different technologies. Composting is really not a good option, because once you compost it, then the methane is escaping in the process, and therefore composting you are getting only organic fertilizer. And if you are going for the accelerated organic fertilizer production using some technology, then you are using electricity and heat, etc., and therefore it becomes very costly. So you cannot afford to go for composting. As a matter of fact, for whatever can generate biogas, if somebody is saying for the composting, then probably doing a big harm. because in biogas, the organic fertilizer, what compost plant is going to provide, you are in any case getting. Energy you are getting, which is a bonus. So, Dr. Sanwad, I think it is better to go for different type of technologies for different applications. But putting in the kiln, etc., it cannot be used for any other purpose. I mean, if the biogas cannot be generated, let the briquette and pellets are made. But if it can, biogas can be generated, it shouldn't. Similarly, if chemical fuel or the ethanol or the biodiesel is produced, bioethanol produced, then it should be used for that. The burning operation should be only the last operation. Burning operation should not be and must not be the first operation. Next one.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla. So now we'll be taking one last question from SK. Can you please, I don't know, this is SK is a symbol or what? Please go ahead.
Sorry, this is Sharif from Ipashko.
Okay,
thank you.
Please.
A very useful presentation. Would you let us know about the gasification yield obtained from the digestion of press mud?
Okay, now for different types of biomass waste, the yield table is already available. If you are using press mud, if you are using virgin agriculture waste, if you are using the cattle dung, if you are using the poultry litter, whatever you are using, so those numbers are available. When you are going to design a plant, then you have to very carefully use those numbers. And I would suggest that if you are a designer or a developer or a consultant, then or even if you're in the government side, then don't go for single waste-based technology. You should go for the mixed waste kind of technology option. So then only you can sustain the availability of the waste material for the rest of the life of the plant. If you are designing it only for one substrate, then you are going to run into problem. So that is how I look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for addressing the questions from the audience. And just with this, may I request admin if they can launch the quiz for the self-assessment of all the participants. And just I want to give brief highlights about this technical session for tomorrow, day 4. And we have some very interesting topics coming up that is on feasibility and scale.